What is going on, you guys? It's Ryan here again with Driven Fab, and welcome to episode 3 of the Goblin build. Now, as I hinted at last week, in this episode we're going to be working on the parachute. And I've had a lot of questions actually since releasing that episode, like, oh, I'm interested as to why you don't like bolt-on parachute kits. Let me show you why. That was blurry as shit. Let me show you why. So this car is a 2003, meaning it's almost 15 years old. And being a Midwest car where the roads are salty in the winter, there is some slight rust on the chassis. As you can see in these pictures, one of the areas is where the parachute mount is actually supposed to bolt to. So when I cut these off, you can actually see there's some pretty good rust damage going on here. And this stuff is super brittle and super flaky. And even if this wasn't a rusted out car, this material here is maybe 45 thousandths thick. That's not very thick. And these parachutes, when they open, depending on speed, can pull a G to a full G and a half on the parachute bar. That's a lot of weight for this thin sheet metal. And when people build these drag cars, we gotta lose as much rotational mass as we can, because we're trying to go A to B as fast as we can. A lot of people ditch the big Brembo brakes, the factory brake kit, go with the small brake kit, small scalloped rotors, to lose rotational mass, but when you lose that, you lose stopping friction. And when you lose stopping friction, you got to be able to slow the beast down, which is why NHRA requires a parachute at anything over 150 miles an hour. We actually had a bolt-on parachute the first season of the Punana. Now, if you guys don't remember what the Punana is, you don't know what the Punana is, click right here. I'll put a link to one of the videos we have of it running. That was the old drag car that we helped Josh out with. I think the best it ever did was 870 at 170 miles an hour, so it was a pretty quick one. It used to have a bolt-in chute, but when it's bolted to thin sheet metal like this, you can actually walk up to the parachute and wiggle it up and down, and it moves all over the place. And when you're going 170 miles an hour, that's not good. I don't want to be going 170 miles an hour with a parachute that's wobbling on the back of the car. That's scary. No, I will go out here and say this is not a direct call out to anybody that makes a bolt-on parachute kit. I've never seen all of the bolt-on parachute kits available for this car. I've only seen a few of them. I'm just giving you some insight as to why we recommend to weld the parachute mount to the frame. Now, of course, I know people are going to comment and say, oh, I've had a bolt-on parachute for 3 seasons now and it's never failed, or oh, it works perfectly. I'm not saying they don't work. All I'm saying is that if I'm going 170 miles an hour down the track, I'm not trusting my parachute be held on by a couple M8 bolts and some 45 thousandths steel. Alright, so that's enough talk for tonight. Let's get to work. So if anybody else has any further questions or has any comments they'd like to make, keep them to yourself. Okay, so in the last episode, you saw me cut all this stuff out with the plasma. If you haven't watched the last episode, you need to go do that. Okay, so with a parachute mount, you're going to want to mount it to the frame rails. There's 2 spots in the back, square here, square here. Well, they're actually rectangles, but you're going to see on this side we have a little bit of damage. That's okay, we'll make it work. First thing we're going to do, make some plates for these. We have some 100 thousandths chromoly plate over there. I'm going to go cut some plates out. Okay, so now that the end plates are cut, we are going to measure the distance for the main hoop. The bumper comes out about 5.5 inches from the end of the frame rail. Now, I know this because I measured it off camera. This is going to be a little bit interesting because I am choosing 1.25" 4130 chromoly for the main hoop. And the 1.25" centerline radius die that I have is 4.5 inches. So it's only going to leave me about 1 inch on each side until it interferes with the bumper. So I'm actually going to cut off at the end of the bend and only use 1/2 inch, so I should still have some clearance in between the bumper for the main hoop. Math. Dead even 37 inches from center to center. I have a nifty program that will tell us the lengths we need. Now this software is pretty neat. You don't need the software to do this by any means, but it really makes bending everything a lot quicker and a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to template, make a new part, 2 bends, simple hoop, click this one, OK. Now I'm going to select the material. I already have the material inputted into the software because we use it a lot. So it's 1.25" 4130. We're going to use the 1.25". Oh, I misspoke earlier. It's actually a 4-inch centerline radius die. So I'm going to use our Pro Tools 105 bender. Now, this is where we enter all the information, and this will make it incredibly easy. So we're going to do center to center, 37 inches. 37 inches because it's the same on top and bottom, and the leg lengths. Now this is where you're going to need some experience to know what to put in for this number. Now I can't just put this in the bender with a 1/2 inch leg length after the bend. It's not going to work, and I'll show you why later. So I have to come in and I probably have to add another 6 inches to each side. So I will put 6 inch for this leg length. And you'll see over here, that includes the centerline radius, so I actually need to up that a bit more because that only gives me 2 inches off of the end of the leg. So I'm going to put 8 for here. 8 inches should be enough to clear the bender. Bada bing, bada boom. And just like that, we have our piece that we need to cut. That easy. All I do, print this out, and it'll give you the instructions on how to bend the tube so that you don't have any waste material. And just like that, we have the information we need to bend the main hoop. So you'll see here, we need to cut off a piece at 48 and just over a 1/2 inch, 48.5 inches. So I'm actually going to cut that off at 50, and I'll show you why I cut that off at 50. Alrighty, so now we come in here and make our marks for our bends. First one's at about 3 3/8, and the next one's just over 38 3/4. So I know the main hoop of the parachute bar sits about 1/2 inch behind this license plate indentation on the bumper. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the measurement for the straight bar that comes out that actually holds the cord to the parachute. Alright, so I got that bar cut out, 8 inches. I got it notched. I have it centered on the main bar. Already measured it out, so now I'm just going to weld it together. Alright, so I got the end plates welded to the main hoop. Now we're going to add the actual mount for the parachute that the parachute hangs off of. Easiest way to do this: buy a kit off Jegs, Summit, one of those two. This is the competition engineering kit. Comes with a little, comes with a sleeve so that the parachute mount can be slip fit, so you can install it, pull it off. And it also comes with a push pin or a release pin, so you can pull that parachute off if you have to. So what I'm going to do, the pipe they include is a little bit too long, so I'm going to cut that down. Then we will notch out the sleeve, get that welded on, and we will weld the parachute plate onto this bar once I get it cut down, and we're almost done. Okay, so got the hole drilled, parachute mount on. Parachute mount is now complete. Now we just got to take it over to the car and weld it on. We got parachute bar welded on. It's on there nice and tight. Last thing we got to do is just attach the parachute, and then we'll have the we'll mount the ripcord when we do the roll cage. Alrighty, well, that's gonna do it. Chute's on. It's watered onto the chassis. This moves a little bit, but that's okay because that's just what holds the parachute. But this is on the car nice and solid. As you can see, it's shaking the entire car on the jack stands when I do that. It's packed, ready for action. I'm gonna spend some more time cleaning up this hole I cut in the bumper around the edges, make it look a little bit nicer, but other than that, she's ready to rock. Alrighty, so that's gonna do it for this episode, episode 3. Got the parachute on there. Next episode, we're going to be starting on the roll cage. So I'm actually probably going to do that in 2 parts because there's a lot of accessory stuff that goes with the roll cage. Kind of like I got to make a pedal box, or I got to finish the pedal box, install the Willwood floor mount pedal kit. We got to make a seat mounting bracket. We actually got to make 2 of them because we're going to put a passenger seat in it as well. We got to do the window net. We got to do the ripcord for the parachute, and some other little accessory stuff that goes on the roll cage. If you like what you saw today, go ahead and click the subscribe button down below so that you can follow along for future videos. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, and we'll see you next episode.